Wellness. Visually, I am on YouTube, so hang tight. Let me share, if I may, this live streaming. So, over to some other social media platforms. So, hang tight. Be right back. All right, I've returned. Sweet nothings, right? So, hello, everyone, again. Holly King, this is Wild Kingdom Wellness, where we talk about all things where we talk about all things well. What do we want to talk about today, ladies? Well, let's start with the date. Today is Friday. It is March the 27th, 2026. The color of the day today, according to the Llewellyn Almanac 2026 Witch's Date Book, the color of the day today is pink, 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 and the moon enters into Leo today around 10:10 a.m. So 10:10, 3, 2, 1, 10:10 a.m., guys. Oh my goodness, it's been a little bit since I've actually spoken to you all here on my Wild Kingdom Wellness podcast. There are many reasons for that, of which I will not get into at this current moment. But what I do want to talk about today, ladies and gentlemen, is the fact that the constructive chaos that I see going on in the world around me right now is pretty freaking painful as a collective consciousness. So, before I get going here, ladies and gentlemen, the one thing I want to say to you all while streaming here live on YouTube and Facebook is subscribe to this channel. I triple dog, downward dog dare you to subscribe to this channel. Help me grow the algorithm of wellness, particularly spiritual wellness, because that, you guys, is what I am completely obsessed with and consumed with at this moment. So if you would hit the like button and subscribe, more so, click the share button as we speak, as I talk. Click that share button and share this podcast with your social media feeds. Share this with Facebook, okay? If you're on Facebook right now and you're listening to me on this live stream, please just share this live stream on Facebook because I have a message for you guys. And it's really important to me as a person and to, I believe, the collective consciousness to hear what I have to say on this Friday, March the 27th, 2026. So let's not belabor the point. Guys, we have some really crooked, messed up things happening in the world around us. In the physical, okay. Now, in the spiritual realm, I think it's a different storyline, okay? And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today is what's happening in my personal opinion as a spiritual life coach, certified in the Bible, all those good things, right? In my personal ex evangelical opinion, I believe wholeheartedly that everything happening today with the planet, with politics, politics, um, with our geomagnetic storms, Three Eye Atlas, whatever, galactic conversations. I do personally believe, as a spiritual life coach, that the spiritual realms are currently very active. And what I mean by that is that if you grew up as I did in the evangelical, Pentecostal, Church of God, Reformation, Southern Baptist belief system as a Christian, If you were paying attention to the preacher, not the priest, the preacher at all, and you were, you know, if you've been around 20 years in the evangelical settings, then everything that you see going on in the world around you right now, from this war in Iran to the collapsing of our current day government system, okay? It's falling apart, y'all. It's falling apart. MAGA is fractured. Democrats are leaning into Republican aisles, vice versa. I do see some collaboration happening, which is huge, between certain people when I look at politics in my own state of Kentucky. So, for those of you all who are watching me on YouTube, listening to me via Apple, Spotify, iHeartRadio, I'm in Kentucky. Okay. So, I'm a Kentucky woman. And y'all, it's getting real. Okay. It's getting real when it comes to what I see going on around me. But what I'm noticing is, like, the Bible Belt of Tennessee and Kentucky are kind of split down the middle when it comes to geopolitical politics. Okay. And that, even that, saying that term sounds like a run on sentence, right? Geopolitical issues. Okay. Geo meaning the whole globe, political meaning leadership, politics meaning politics. Okay, so you can plug in your own definition at this point, ladies and gentlemen, of what you think the proper role is for elected politicians. So I have been in prayer, I have been in intercession with the Holy Spirit for quite some time, and I have been afraid to say how I feel and profess the fact that everything that's happening right now, guys, is perfect timing. It's perfect astrological timing. So, I've got a few things we're going to talk about today. I'm going to bounce around a little bit, but I promise you, if you stick out this podcast with me to the very end, you're going to get it. You're going to go, oh, that's what she meant by the fact that we are currently in a physical war on the planet and a spiritual war in the spirit realms. It is happening concurrently together. Now, I, as a minister of the healing arts, am no longer a Zionist, but I also don't hate anyone who is different than me, a Jew, a Muslim, a Buddhist, someone who practices polyamory, a gay person. Let's see, what else is there? A black person, a brown person, a yellow person, a trans person. I am not the type of person who looks at another human being and turns my nose up at them and says, well, my DNA structure is more important than yours. And so, even though you might call God Allah, I might call him Yeshua, Jehovah, Jesus. Did I say Yahweh? Did I say that? I may call God something else, or I may not say the name of God at all because of fear of wrath and hellfire. Ladies and gentlemen, what the hell are we doing in the spirit realm? Okay. Well, let me tell you what we're doing, because I've been watching this playbook now for 20 to 30 years as an adult. And I want to be as honest and transparent as I can with you all as human beings, as souls who are just taking this ride, this journey on the planet for shits and giggles, ladies and gentlemen, do you honestly think that what is happening in current day times is not what the evangelical, Pentecostal, spirit filled church was talking about back in the 1970s and 80s? Okay, I'm going to make a list of names for you all, and I want you to ask yourself, have you ever heard of these names? Okay, are you ready? Get a piece of paper and a pencil. If you want to get a pen, that's great. But I want you to ask yourself right now, in this current geopolitical climate, if you've ever heard of these people. Okay, T.D. Jakes, Paula White, Jensen Franklin, Kenneth Copeland. Who else? There's a few more that I could name. I'll stop right there. You get my drift. Benny Hinn, okay? The 700 Club, Jim and Tammy Faye Baker, Pat Robertson. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there again. Have you ever heard those names? Okay, well, I have. And for most of my upbringing in the Pentecostal church or apostolic church, whatever you want to call it, those people were the people that I listened to on a mainstream level outside of my local Pentecostal church pastor. Now, I'm not going to name names right now for the local Pentecostal church pastors because I have a feeling that I need to hold those cards to my chest a little bit right now, okay? Because in the world I see going on in the world around me, y'all, we are playing some kind of messed up 4D chess when it comes to this spiritual warfare that's going on as we speak, as I sit here and do this live video. Okay, so like and subscribe. But as someone who left the evangelical church right around the year, I'm just going to say the year 2014, because that was about the time I also left my healthcare career as a life and health insurance broker agent. Okay, so in my late 30s, I made this major shift and transition into a complete career change, a complete religion change, I guess you could say, adjustment. We'll call it an adjustment. Okay, because I still believe in Jesus. And as a matter of fact, if you think I ain't channeling Jesus right now, you don't know me at all. And I'm talking to the people who have been coming at me in my own circles and saying to me, like, you're crazy. Because, y'all, I'm about to bring you some receipts and a story. Okay, so you're not going to want to miss not one episode of this Wild Kingdom wellness journey. Now, in 2014, when my ex-husband and I had had enough of the hellfire and damnation that was being preached from behind the local pulpit, when we had had enough, my ex-husband and I left the church. As a matter of fact, if you want the truth behind it, hold please while I take a sip of my coffee. The truth behind our exodus back around 2012 to 14. Okay, so I'm putting this timeline together for you all. Okay, I'm not going to give you the specific date. You could look it up in the Church of God, Cleveland, Tennessee registry and ask them when we left and withdrew our membership to that church organization. Okay, so if you wanna search some things out, I'll give you the breadcrumbs, and you can go and follow along on this Wild Kingdom wellness journey. Okay, so my husband at the time and I had recognized something that was happening inside of the spiritual, uh, spirit field filled churches. Okay. We started asking our pastor questions about the books that were removed from the Bible prior to or around the 1611 King James compilation. It's like, where are the rest of the books of the Bible? And our pastor's like, that's not the Bible. So you don't need to bother with that. Oh, okay, okay, okay. Sure. Well, then I became the women's minister of this church. I had about 100 people total. Well, I became the women's president of the women's ministry, and I went to the pastor and I said to the pastor, Mr. D, can I talk about the cycles of the moon with the women, because I firmly believe that we are affected, women, we women are more affected by the cycles of the moon than we understand. And so we really need to look at moonology, magic, common sense, cosmic common sense, ladies and gentlemen. Coin that phrase. This is cosmic common sense, that the waxing and the waning of the moon affects women much more strongly than it does men. Okay. It affects you all too. Okay. You too. You too are affected with the lunacy of the waxing and the waning of the moon. But because women's bodies rhythm with the waxing and the waning moon through their blood cycle. Some of you are like, ew, disgusting. We're going to talk about your period. No, I'm not going to talk about my period. Period. But I asked the pastor, I said, can I teach this to the women so that we understand the rhythms of our body and we can start to heal some stuff? Because in the Pentecostal church, isn't that the goal? Ladies and gentlemen, isn't that the goal of the Pentecostal, charismatic, evangelical church, is to find healing? And so the pastor's like, no, that's witchcraft. You're not talking about it. And that was the time we were like, we're out of here. If we cannot ask questions about the written and the spoken word of God and just dig deeper, we weren't trying to do it. We weren't trying to quote unquote trump anybody. I wasn't trying to take your church over, Brother D. Okay. I was trying to get to the core and the meat of what our physical body is doing in concert with our spiritual body, scientifically. Okay. So we left. And then I had another awakening when I realized that Big Pharma and the Food and Drug Administration was creating the problem so that they could create the cure and take your money. Isn't that right, friends? Didn't I do that job for 15 years? And I said, what the hell is this? We're being poisoned. We're being radiated with our microwaves and our cell phones, and our televisions and our devices. Our brain is being dysregulated by these frequencies. And lo and behold, everybody thought I was being difficult to point out the mathematical equation that says if your body weighs 250 pounds and all your calories are sugar, that you're going to need some insulin at some point, most likely, allegedly. And I, ladies and gentlemen, are as guilty as it gets when it comes to wanting to eat sugar. I am a stress eater. Stress eater. Some women are man eaters. I'm a stress eater. Okay. But I know better. So I got to stop it. Right. So I know better. I got to get that into control, under control. Because spiritually, that stuff's just eating and it's rotting our brains. So here we are in 2026. I have now studied every occult line of magic that you can think of, and there's still a million other things that I am glossing over with my spiritual coaching practice. And I'm looking at the world right now and I'm seeing what's happening. And immediately I'm hearing all those old school Pentecostal preachers scream and spit from the pulpit saying, the last days have come. I mean, yep, you've been saying it for a long time. But here's the thing about God. God's time is not our time, is it? No. Because what is it? One day in the Lord is like 1,000 years for us little peons down here on earth, humans. So when you look at the astrology and the sign of the times, God rest Prince's soul, right about 1999, we had a major shift of consciousness. Okay. And if you're an X generation like me, you're like, oh, right. Oh, right, right. Right. And then around 2012, we did it again. So you're like 13 years later. And here we are in 2026, and I'm looking at all of this Aries, like the sign of Aries, the new beginnings of the magistrate of the universe. Aries is like the new beginning king of the zodiac system. Okay. You got Neptune in Aries for the next 13 years. You got Saturn in Aries for the next 2 years, which is our political time clock for who's going to take leadership of our country next term. So you got a 13-year cycle of Aries, new beginnings, and you got a 2-year cycle of Aries, new beginnings. Currently, if you're having your birthday, I would sing happy birthday to you, but my voice might crack. If you're having your birthday right now, our sun is in Aries. Okay, the sun right now, the zodiac, you're in Aries if you're born today, so happy birthday. So we got the sun in Aries, we've got Saturn in Aries, we've got Neptune in Aries, and next week, after we get through our full moon, which I believe is on Monday, Mars, Mars, the god of war, Mars, the god of war, little g, goes into Aries. And I laugh because Mars rules the sign of Aries and Scorpio, of which I am double, double Scorpio. And I'm just watching this shit like a movie at this point. I'm like, you have got to be kidding. This is how it unfolds. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I afraid of? I have no control of what's going on in the collapse of our current day system except to pray and ask God, ask the universe to help us. Help us as humans to not destroy the planet. Help us as humans to stop annihilating each other based on our bloodline. That is the old paradigm. It's the old story. And for my friends and family and my past loved ones who I used to work with in the insurance realms, of which I'm going to send you this video and make reference to this clip at the 23-minute mark, my dear friend. And I'm going to remind you that God's ways are not our ways. And for the last few days, I've really been thinking about the first book of Kings in the Bible, the Old Testament, where Solomon, the King Solomon, was on the throne, and the two women were fighting over the newborn baby. One woman said that was her baby. One woman said it was the other's baby. And King Solomon, so they were arguing over the baby. I'm not going to tell you the scripture. You can go back and read it for yourself. It's First Kings Chapter 3 starts at verse 16. Go read the story about King Solomon and all his wisdom, and how the two women who had just had babies, and one of them died, and they were fighting over the other baby, saying, that baby's my baby. She said, nope, that baby's my baby. And they took the situation to the king, and they asked King Solomon, what are we going to do? Who are you going to give the baby to? Who are you going to award the child to? Because she says it's her baby. I say it's my baby. Somebody's going to take this baby home today when we leave the Supreme Court of King Solomon. And you know what King Solomon said? I'm just going to take my sword and I'm going to cut this baby right in half. Neither of you get this baby. And the woman who really was the mom of the baby said, I relent and I relinquish my rights to this child. Give her the baby. And the woman who was lying out the side of her face, somebody's watching, say hi, said, thank you. I'll take that baby home with me. And you know what King Solomon did? He was like, fooled you, bitch. Guess what? That's not your baby. Because if it was your baby, you would have never let that baby be cut in half. And he knew who the true mother was. Now, in the world I live in right now, in society, Christianity is the baby. Because what has happened with all of this bullshit, this fracturing of our country, is that we have been fighting so long as Republicans and Democrats, as Christians and non-Christians, that even the Christians don't even know who owns the baby anymore. Because they're so enamored with power and control. And they're serving a God called money and prestige that they can't even see the fallacy before their own face. And I get real upset about my place in the world because I don't know what to say other than to tell people to stop fighting. Now, my Pentecostal brother and sister would probably say, well, this has to unfold because, you know, Paula White's up in Donald Trump's ear anyway, aren't you, Paula? Yes, you are. I grew up in a trailer park too, Paula White, in Kentucky. So I see you, girl. I see what you're doing. I see what all you evangelists are out there doing. Charlie Kirk was a baby that didn't make it. And that's all I'm going to say about that right now. But we have a huge problem on our hands as Americans. And as a one woman show, vocalizing her opinion on what is going on in the world around me as a hardworking, middle class, white-ish woman, tax-paying citizen who gets picked on by the government, by the way. Just the facts. That's just all I'm saying. Maybe it's on accident. I don't know. But I'm not going to shut up. And my producer, Brooke, knows I'm not going to shut up. Because every time I shut up, this Wild Kingdom Wellness podcast, I lose my mind. This message must reach the masses. And whatever satanic bullshit AI resistance wants to shut me up from having freedom of speech and liberty to go, there is a better way, okay? There is a better way to handle this conflict and all this collective chaos. There's a better way to handle it. But as human beings, especially in America, Boys and girls, you have got to realize who the true enemy is, and it is not someone that has a different religion than you. It is not your bloodline. It is not the color of your skin or who you choose to consensually live with as an adult. That is not the cause of the chaos. The cause of the collective chaos is bigger than that. And astrology has a weird way of coming back full circle. So that's all I'm going to talk about today. Like, subscribe, share this podcast with someone that you love. Give me a thumbs up, for God's sakes. I'm working real hard, y'all. Real hard on promoting the aspect of wellness and peace in your mind. I love you. Live the dream. Share this video. Again, like, subscribe, and have a beautiful, blessed day. We'll see you soon. All right. Bye.